Hi, Elise Philpott here, just joining you from the Upstate to share a bit on the Republican record on education in South Carolina. According to the 2020 Education Week Quality Counts Report and the 2019 U.S. News and World Report ranking of school districts across the United States, South Carolina ranks 41st worst in the nation for education. Intelligent.com's 2019 Best and Worst States for Education has South Carolina ranked 49th in the nation. Now, some of the areas that these studies observe are children's readiness for entering kindergarten. Will they be able to succeed right from the get-go? These studies follow students through their years in the K-12 education system. They study high school graduation ranks, and then they look at some of the factors that may be affecting this data, things like teacher pay, equity of funding across school districts. In South Carolina, just 36% of children are entering kindergarten ready to learn. This trend continues all the way through K through 12 until by high school, only 81% of high school students graduate in South Carolina. This means that almost 1 in 5 South Carolina young people do not graduate from high school. In South Carolina in 2018, just 42% of students graduating from high school were college ready, ready to succeed in college in English. Just 30% were ready to succeed in college in their reading capabilities. 24%, just 24% of South Carolina high school grads were ready to succeed in college in math, and only 20% were prepared to succeed in the sciences. This starts to become apparent when we look at the 2019 two-year college completion rates. So this is completion rates at the two-year colleges in South Carolina, junior colleges, community colleges, trade schools. Just 17% of students completed a two-year degree within 3 years. So allowing an extra year of time for completion, just 17% of South Carolina students in two-year colleges completed their two-year degree within 3 years. The achievement gap in South Carolina is very bleak. According to the 2019 NAEP scores, which is a national test that's administered to compare states and to compare achievement levels across time, South Carolina's Black children averaged a score of 199 on the test. Their white children in South Carolina averaged 229. This 30-point score difference is hugely significant statistically, and it's devastating in reality and on the ground for children's learning. In Greenville County School District, the achievement gap by the end of high school between Black and white students is 2.5 grade levels. And in Charleston, the gap is 3.5 grade levels. Now, this gap isn't as high in some other districts around the state, but it's high given that anywhere when we see this gap, we know that Black children and white children can all learn. And so when we see this kind of grade level gap, we know that we have a lot of work to do. What are some of the reasons maybe for problems in our schools? We want to attract the best and the brightest teachers, but we pay teachers 42nd worst in the nation here in South Carolina. Our starting pay for teachers, which is that initial attraction for people to go into a career, is 47th worst in the nation. And from 2000 to 2018, teacher pay in South Carolina declined 6.5%, adjusted for inflation. So we're going the wrong direction with teacher pay. Rather than trying to increase teacher pay during recent affluent years, we've simply allowed teacher pay to continue to fall. Finally, here in South Carolina, our school funding formula was created 43 years ago in 1977 and has not been updated according to what we know looking at other states in the country and their funding formulas. We have a problem with equity in our state, with resources being placed where they're most needed to help the children who most need those resources. This is another one of those causes for the statistics we looked at earlier in today's presentation. I hope you'll consider all of this information. This is the Republican record. The Republicans have had control of the state house for at least 30 years here in South Carolina. And so when we look at statistics like South Carolina's rankings, we have to ask, isn't it time for a change? Thanks for joining me today.